How you doing? Ronin Man here. Yesterday we talked about Elizabeth Holmes, the liar, scammer, girl with a dream who invented a machine in her mind that would test blood with one drop of blood instead of needles. It was a great idea. Unfortunately, it was a fabrication. It was similar to an 11-year-old girl who has a magic box sitting in a sand, in a park, and she has the magic box, and she's gonna that box is gonna create anything she wants, right? That's exactly the level we had with Elizabeth Holmes and her company Theranos. And as it went farther and farther, she created more and more lies. Finally, it came crashing down. But the interesting part was that she fooled a lot of people, including Jim Cramer, including everybody up to Bill Clinton. People were just lining up to be scammed by this woman. It's interesting to me. It's very interesting to me why they were. What societal shifts have happened that people are so willing to believe a scam artist if she is female? I just don't understand that. To me, a scam artist is a scam artist. Doesn't matter if they have a vagina or a penis, basically same. Are they telling the truth? Is their invention real? Do they have the skills? Are they full of shit, right? In this case, she was absolutely full of shit. So today we're going to talk about another type of scammer. This is today's news too, so it's just coming one after the other. In the old days, men were, in charge. Most managers were men, most executives were men. So when you read about a scandal, you always read about a man. Now that females are getting into executive positions, you see every day news scandals from female executives, and it really destroys the idea. And again, I talked about in the last podcast, there's been no serious research into whether women do bring better communication skills, higher profits, or better, more transparency. Let's just look at the specifics and see if those things are true, right? So here's this woman. She had changed her name so many times. She was Catherine Rohr in this article. This article is a couple years ago, and this is her glowing time. So basically, what she did was her theory is that ex-cons had a lot of skills, and so she was going to get these ex-cons out of prison, teach them how to be entrepreneurs, and make them successful because they have skills. They maybe they're bad, or maybe they made the wrong decisions, selling meth instead of selling aspirin, but they're good people with quality sales skills and this and that. Now, she's not the first person to say this. I've heard this a million times, right? And there's probably some truth to it, right? Prostitutes, drug dealers, they have skills, right? They're able to somehow get those drugs they need and, continue on with business, right? So these people have skills. So she basically said, okay, we're going to go into these criminals and we're going to turn them into entrepreneurs. This was her thing. But she also had a Christian God side to her, which often the worst scammers tend to have something extra, which is like religion or cult or something like that. Not saying religious people are scammers, but scammers tend to go with things that like put a halo over them. So, they might dress impeccably, right? They might, go to church. They're doing something to fool you with their real intention. So this woman, what she was doing was she was having sex with all the ex-cons, basically. So she go into prison. She finally got caught having sex with 4 of her students, but apparently there was a lot more. There was there was plenty more. But here she basically like made up this idea they're going to get seed funding, these criminals, and so she was going to mentor them. She's pretty funny. She calls it a ministry, right? She's raising all this money. She's getting all this money, millions of dollars, and she calls it a ministry. Okay, I don't really think that. To me, ministry is more like somebody standing on the street corner, somebody going and talking to somebody all night while they're thinking about suicide, somebody manning a hotline. This is a type of ministry to me. Raising money, driving a nice car, flying around in a private jet does not sound like a ministry to me. Okay, so she got rewards all the way up. And again, another woman who got ex-president George Bush, Rick Perry, all the way to the top. Everybody's just dying to give hand jobs to these female entrepreneurs. It all came crashing down in 2009. Okay, so that's interesting. Now we're in 2018. What happened? She had sex with so many of her ex-inmates that she was barred from going to prison. by the Texas prison system, threatening security concerns. And they threatened to kick the whole organization out if she was involved in any way. And then this article is written from her point of view. Devastated, she resigned. And devastated. So this is how these people are created, is that Inc. magazine is writing it. This woman is an absolute scumbag, right? She's supposedly a Christian ministry. And she's fucking all the guys in prison, right? And she's caught. She's caught for 4 specific guys, and rumors are of many, many more, which we're going to hear more about later. And they're writing it from her perspective. Devastated. She resigned. Would they write this about a man who screwed a bunch of women in prison? You know, I mean, honestly, she's married at the time too. Okay, so she's cheating on her husband. She's screwing guys in prison. She's screwing guys that are getting money from her company, right? I mean, and then they write it from her perspective. Devastated. She resigned. I didn't read that about male criminals. I don't read about them like devastated. You know, I never see that. It's just interesting, but it's important. Personally, I think it's pretty important. Okay, so she now this whole article is talking from her perspective about why she fucked all these inmates. The reason why is because she was on the run with this company, running around, flying everywhere, going to the prisons, fucking the inmates. She wasn't at home very much, and raising money, so getting money, sleeping 4 hours, and so she was not home to be a wife. And so, you know, she wasn't living sustainably. Fucking a bunch of inmates. You just imagine you're her husband. You're sitting at home. You're a Christian guy. Your wife is raising money. You're going and helping her. You're part of the program. And then you know she's going to prisons. And you find out that she's like sucking these guys off and fucking these prisoners. I mean, how would you feel? Like, this is just outrageous. They take her perspective. I just can't, you know, after the divorce, she felt ashamed. How about being ashamed for fucking all the inmates? I mean, how about cheating on her husband? How about, we're going to hear more about the money and everything, but this woman was just totally out to lunch. And this is the kind of person, like, just scatterbrained, an absolute scatterbrained, cheating liar. You know, just the worst kind of woman, this woman. Really, seriously, the worst kind that uses religion as a crutch, as an excuse, as a way to get money, and as a way to get people's hearts, as a way to get into the prison. She obviously likes to fuck prisoners. She has some kind of attraction to prisoners. I mean, do you guys doubt it for a minute that she was attracted to these prisoners? Of course she was. Everybody has a type, okay? Let's just talk real here. You know, some guys, they're into the college girl, right? Other guys are into fat girls. Really, some guys are into that. Some guys are into being tied up or tying up girls or whatever. Everybody has a type. This woman, 100%, I'll tell you right now, yeah, she had a fetish for prisoners. So she would go in there and she was probably like, you know, too turned on, right? So naturally she was, and she screwed all the prisoners, right? So everybody at the time when she got busted in 2009, everybody caught on. Like they were saying, like, let me guess. These are comments online. The greater the crime committed by the ex-convict, the dirtier the sex, wrote one commenter. Others claim to have knowledge of more than 4 affairs. She says they wrote untrue things. All sorts of uninformed comments. I didn't want to live anymore. I thought my life would be covered in shame. And later she says she tried to commit suicide. You know, I'm tired of reading about that. You know, guys, 80% of suicide in the U.S. is male, and over 80% worldwide is male. This idea of trying to commit suicide, this is like saying I don't know. I can't even think. Suicide is to lie about suicide is the lowest level thing. I don't think even this type of person that's a compulsive liar, I don't even think they know how to tell the truth. Like, honestly, I don't think she even knows what suicide is. I'll tell you what suicide is. Suicide is you get on top of a building 70 stories high, you take a running jump, and you jump down to the concrete. That's suicide, right? Or you chain something a massive piece of concrete to your leg, and you jump off a boat. That's suicide. Or you take a gun and you lodge it into your, very clearly into under your jaw, and you aim it straight towards the top of your head, and you pull the trigger on like a shotgun or something with a lot of, horsepower. That is suicide, right? Suicide is not what she did. They don't even mention what she did. because her trying to commit suicide was probably drinking like, a bottle of whiskey or something, right? So, I'm so tired of that. Either you did it or you didn't, right? If you're still alive, 99% is that you didn't commit suicide. There's a few people who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and who lived. I consider that suicide. Jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, that's high enough. It's like concrete when you land. I would consider that would be a serious suicide attempt. There are people like that who just get lucky. The tree branch breaks off and they try to hang themselves. But when women say they try to commit suicide, that's just patently, you should just say, no, I don't believe it unless you prove it. Of course you believe it if they prove it. This is a serious thing, suicide. I don't want to put any kind of doubt. Suicide's a serious issue, but I do get tired of people bullshitting about suicide. I've read that enough. Enough bullshit with suicide, guys. Either do it or don't. If you're not doing it, you're not doing it. Don't say you tried. It's not like everybody gets a medal. Go fucking do it. Get it over with. Have somebody else write the comment. Okay. So next here, she now has fucked all the inmates. Her husband left her, who's a Christian, who she's married to, who she cheated on, who she lied to all her donors, lied to the prison staff, lied to her staff, and we're going to find out more about her staff because she tried to fuck all her staff too, and she did fuck a lot of her staff. So the lowest point in her life. So this is the typical marketing story here. Is I was at the lowest point. I was no friends. I was kicked by the dog. I was lower than a dime. I was, I got pissed on at the fire hydrant. I was, and then I came out of it. These stories, I get so tired of them because they're just not true. Everybody makes up this kind of marketing story now. Either way, she got married. She got divorced. She's probably still fucking the inmates, right? Once you fuck somebody, you keep fucking them most of the time. It's just the way it is in life. Anybody you fucked, you could probably fuck again. 80%. So she's out, especially if you're a girl and decent looking. And this woman is decent looking, right? So, these guys are like, hey, come on over, booty call. All right, cool. All right, so she says she questioned her calling. She's a lying whore, and she questioned her calling. She's a lying, whoring thief, cheating bastard, and she's questioning her calling. What is her calling? Her calling is to fuck inmates and steal money? That's an interesting calling, So she dyes her hair and she changes her name. So from now on, she's Catherine Hoke. Yeah. So she goes and she gets referrals, blah, blah. She starts a new business. Okay, so let's just go off of that article. On to Christian virtues, God's calling, blah, 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 blah. She was an object of shame. I hated my guts. I tried to kill myself. I was covered in the thickest wall of shame in my life. I could not even believe it. I mean, what does that mean? Honestly, this woman doesn't say anything. And she's telling her Christian audience. So this woman, this is the Christian Post, by the way, thechristianpost.com. So she's getting hand jobs from the church while she's doing, stealing money from the congregation, the members of the church, and screwing the people in the church, which we'll find out about later, right? And then meanwhile, she's making this story, oh, it was so bad, and then she came back, right? So she made her return. I realized so many gang leaders and drug dealers shared common traits with successful CEOs and executives. If they could just go legit, it's like gang leaders and drug dealers. This is her type, right? I got a second chance at life. God, best thing, inspiring. Oh, the pastor, and she's just eating it up. Here she is on stage. Look at her, this woman is a total whore, right? And here she is on stage. Look at the way her feet are. They're like the innocent, babe in the woods. And she loves to get railed by drug dealers, drug dealers in jail, So, it's just hilarious, how could anybody take this seriously? Anybody who knows anything about women, it's just like, oh my God, this is the kind of woman is a psycho. This is the kind of girl, I can tell you this. I've I talk about, sometimes a lot of girls in my life before I got into MGTOW, and this is the type of girl who's actually a pretty good fuck because she's so psycho. This is the kind of girl you could have some pretty crazy sex with, actually. This girl would love to get slapped around, have sex in public, be totally humiliated, and have a vibrator stuck in her while she's out in McDonald's or whatever in public and shamed. And, she this girl here is up for anything. I can tell you that right now. And and she loves the drug dealers getting fucked in prison. She's perfect, right? So this girl's awesome. So if you see a girl like this, there's nothing wrong with giving her a good roll in the hay or whatever. But to take her seriously as a religious person is just crazy. She's like the wolf in the hen house. You bring her in the church, oh man, she's gonna be like this kind of woman. Don't hold any grudges, but she's the type that would just love to screw all the guys who are married. She quotes the Bible. I'm sure she prays and holds everybody's hands, and her hand slides down their back and down at their cocks and everything, right? So she's remarried. She had a second chance, but the second chance didn't go so well as we're gonna see here. She's been now accused of sexual harassment. What a surprise! Defy Ventures. Former employees say its leader fostered an abusive work environment. What a surprise. Misled benefactors and may have ripped off clients. Yep. Okay, not that big of a surprise here. Jared Kushner gave her money. She was welcomed by everybody. Everybody wants to be seen with a successful female entrepreneur right now. It's like taking a picture with Richard Branson. It shows you care. It's like that website, Black People Like Me. And this guy has a picture. It was a hilarious website. But, this is the kind of bullshit it is now. It's everybody's like, oh, I support female entrepreneurs. I'm going to take a picture with her. And that means I'm good. I'm going to prove to you that I'm good. I'll tell you something, you guys. It doesn't, and girls too, I know girls are listening now. It doesn't matter what you look like. I don't care what you think about me. I really don't care. I want to provide as much value as I can. And if somebody's listening and they're getting value out of it, I'm super happy about that. Really. It makes my day. It's one of the most, it just gets me so fired up. And if somebody doesn't think anything good, I just don't care. It's none of my business, actually. Right. So let's go. Okay. So Gordon, let's get down to the juicy part here. Okay. Here we go. Hoke reached her hand. Okay. So she fucked male prisoners in prison, right? Well, now it gets even better. She reached her hand up an employee's skirt twice at a company party. So she's hitting on women inside her company, her own employees. Now imagine women, when they get into more management positions, are going to bring so much more transparency. There won't be any more sex scandals because guys are perverts. Guys are doing all this stuff. Here she is, not only screwing all the guys she's giving money to in prison, breaking everybody's trust, including the church and her own husband. Now she's actually pressuring. She's pulling a Harvey Weinstein here. She's Harvey Weinsteining all the girls in her company, more than one. And this was not some bullshit accusation. 2 employees witnessed the assault and filmed it with their camera. Of course, they had to relinquish the camera. But this chick was out there. I don't know if she was drunk. I don't know what the situation was. Some guy was fired. Okay, so she's putting her hand up skirts at employees at her party. Now she fires somebody, forces them out of the program. So one of the drug dealers didn't want to fuck her. So she fired him out, forced him out of the program so he couldn't take the $100,000 for his refusal to consummate a personal and sexual relationship. Okay, so this woman just has time after time. She's a total psycho. She's a total lying psycho. She's fooling religious people, which is pretty easy. She's fooling donors. She didn't. I'll tell you something. What's very interesting is the Texas prison system caught on to her and said, "You can't fucking come back." I like that. I tell you, the prison systems, they are very more tied into what's going on with people, humans. They understand humans. And she did it 4 times. They're like, you can't come back. And your organization can't come back if you're associated with it in any way, right? Even, long distance. They're like, get her out of the system or we ain't going to let you back in. And she left and she started a new company, right? So this is her new one. Now she's putting her hand, firing guys. So again, does this sound like something a guy would do? Is this like what guys are bad because they do? Catherine was clear about expectations when traveling with male staff. They were not, okay. She said no corporate fucking. So she said no men and women could sleep in the same room as each other's, but she told one of her employees, okay, on a trip, that she doesn't usually like blondes, but that I am really hot. This is a female, right? So her and her husband would gross each other out by imagining a former employee masturbating. Hoke was sad she had to share a trip with somebody because she was not able to bring her toys. She's just like vibrating herself like all day. She can't even like take a business trip without like a massive vibrator session, right? She admitted to her husband, which is fine. All this is fine. It's just that it's all hidden, you know. I don't mind if I really don't mind at all. I'm very open-minded when it comes to sex, but I don't like when people are dishonest about stuff. You know, just be honest about it. You know, this woman is like screwing the inmates. She loves drug dealers. She likes danger. She's bisexual. She's like sticking her hand up women's skirts who work for her, pressuring them. She likes to pressure people. She likes to belittle people. She likes to force sex on people. You know, I can understand all of these proclivities. They're not that uncommon. You know, if you watch Pornhub, you're going to see these kind of videos. But the thing is, if a guy did any of these things, he'd be in prison like that. He'd be gone forever. I mean, literally, that guy would be so toast. And she's still out there, like 8-9 years later. You know, she's still out there just doing the same thing. And she says, a former employee, Hoke, told her she was totally checking me out and that I have a nice little ass. She tells this is a woman. So she's screwing men and women. Okay, here we go. She's trying to get other people to fuck other people. Let's see. I can't remember if there's anything else juicy in here. You know, just basically is that, you know, I can't really put enough doubt on this woman. Okay, here's a former client. Okay, so one of the drug dealers got so tired of her trying to fuck him and all the other guys that he actually made a website that I think he was forced to take down because we're looking at it on the Wayback Machine. So this is March 16th, 2016. There's her picture. Catherine Hoke. She was Catherine Rohr Hoke back then. But basically it was just saying that she was impropriety, fudging statistics, lying. Her classes were total bullshit. So she would have 100 people join the class. And with most aid organizations, when you have 100 people join the class, 100 finish, right? And they have a chance to win money and all this kind of, they join these courses for education. Only like 20% of people graduate her courses. So they must have been complete bullshit, start to finish. I've never heard of like that kind of thing. Is they're giving them free education, they're all dropping out. So I think she basically, if they didn't fuck her, they would just get kicked out of the course. That's what it sounds like. I can't say for sure, but I know for sure that her education was just meaningless because 80% of people dropped out. And if you know statistics, you'll know that 20% of people just will finish anything no matter what, you know, regardless if it's any good, just because they have a self-concept of, I'm the kind of guy who finishes stuff, right? So he finishes it, you know. So basically everybody drops out, exceeding 75%. Everybody goes back. Former employee says, Defy is a great mission with a terrible leader. Okay, this is good. I should read this. Not only is Catherine Hoke unable to retain participants in her entrepreneurial program, but she has similar problems in keeping employees, raising serious questions about her all-around management style, even though female executives are perfect. In the past few months, Defy has seen a mass exodus of employees holding key positions within the executive structure. So, I mean, you know, one former employee likens the Defy work environment to being toxic and dysfunctional. Now, I thought that men were toxic masculinity, you know, men are toxic. But this is her own staff is saying she's toxic, dysfunctional, terrible culture, belittles her staff, and exploits them until they quit. So this is the woman, this is female executive here who she got a chance to prove herself, and she cheats on her husband, she screws her clients, nobody finishes her courses, she belittles her staff, she puts hands up skirts of girls at parties, she fires guys that don't fuck her. I mean, what else can she do? You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of anything like that she could do really, besides kill people. You know, that's the only thing I guess she hasn't done yet. Is she hasn't killed anybody, you know. But this is what we get now is there's an unproven theory that when women get in management positions, that greater transparency, honesty, it's more helpful. Women have better communication skills. You know, it's going to be rainbows and unicorns. when you put women in management positions. Is the theory has been I've heard this since the 1970s, and I'm really tired of it. This is it. This is all coming out now. Women are in management positions. They're doing the same thing as guys, and even worse. And the reason why it's worse is not because women are worse. It's worse because they're not getting kicked out like men would. If she was a man in 2009, 2008, when she left the other company, it would have been over. She would have gone to prison. It would have been finished. But instead, she got a second chance. And she wears her little cutie dress. She goes on the Christian speaking tour. Everybody gives her money. She gets thousands of supportive emails. And then she gets a bunch of money. And then she goes out and does it again. And she gets a second and third and fourth chance. Meanwhile, while she's cheating on her husband, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't understand. I really don't. I don't know where people are coming from when they're saying this stuff. So there we go. There's Catherine Hoke. So, send any links, because this thing is an ongoing thing. People are now saying that men need to be taken out of their management positions that they earned in Silicon Valley and need to be replaced with women like Catherine Hoke. Even though they didn't deserve it, they don't have a tech background. Uber was forced by social pressure to hire a CEO, and she is the owner of Ebony magazine, which is a failing magazine that's being sued for not paying not even their employees, but for not paying their freelancers. Freelancers don't get, like I said, more than like $50, maximum $75 for an article. And she's being sued, and she just settled with the freelancers not paying them. So she was running a failing company. Ebony magazine has a niche of African Americans. And they had kind of an easy softball. They kind of controlled the market. I would say they had a very sweet niche. For a long time, Ebony magazine was like the magazine in that niche. And even despite that, being a good, profitable niche with a lot of hair care and a lot of products, if you do marketing, you'll know very clearly there's different niches. You have some of the best niches are very kind of counterintuitive. One of the best niches is the conspiracy niche, and what do they call it? The guys who build the basements and have all the guns in their house. They think the world's going to end. That's one of the best niches. It's very profitable. The African American niche is very profitable, and there's a bunch of good niches out there. So she was in a kind of a good niche. She owned the niche in many people's minds, and certainly in my mind, she did. That magazine I used to see everywhere. Go get your haircut or whatever. I'd always see it there. I actually read that magazine before. I always thought it was interesting as a kid, as a magazine for African Americans. I was like, oh, okay, what is this? I'd just sit there and read it when I was getting my haircut, and she owned that. But again, magazine and success are not synonymous anymore. Magazine equals failure. And then why is this woman with a magazine, a failing magazine, which had, previously was great. Every magazine's like this. Time magazine is having all these scandals now. Newsweek's having these scandals. New York Times sold for $1 or something. All these previous newspapers, publishers, magazines, they're all like, really turning down because of the internet. So again, it was a great magazine, but it's failing now. It's a bad business model for 2018, right? And so what happens is Uber is desperate to hire a CEO that's female. Here they have a female who's black. She checks all the boxes, and she's pretty high profile because she got in the media business, and she steps right in as CEO of Uber. Of Tesla. And Tesla, they got a lot of challenges. They're developing artificial intelligence, self-driving technology. They're trying to beat lithium battery. They want fast charging. They're building automobiles, which is no small feat. They're doing a great job with marketing and design. They're really designing a new factory is what they are. They're Tesla 2.0 is really a factory that's going to. I just quickly say this. I've been to the factory. I've taken a tour of the Tesla factory in Fremont, and Musk's theory was that all the mechanical, the slow robots, they would put the windshield on really slow, and he said, why can't they go fast? Like canning machines. There's like and so that's what he's doing. He's creating basically factory 2.0, and that's what's going to create Teslas in the future. And so They need people in manufacturing. They need people in battery technology and artificial intelligence. They don't need anybody in failing old technologies, and they certainly don't need somebody from a magazine, But they took her as the frickin' CEO of of Tesla. Can you believe that? I mean, it's just pathetic the lengths companies are going to get women on their boards, and they're paying the price. I mean, these people take serious. America's famous for one thing worldwide. I lived in Japan for a long time, lived in China. American executives are paid so highly. So whenever, a woman gets a position, an American company, she's getting some serious coin. I don't know if you know this, but like president of Hitachi, president of Toshiba, NEC, they're getting maybe a salary of maybe $300,000. It's not that high. Japanese executives don't get paid that well. They do it more out of love, nationalism. I don't know there's been a lot of people theorizing why they do it. I don't know why they stick around these companies for such low salaries when, foreign companies, gaishikes, will pay so much more. But either way, they will. And Japanese work very hard for those low salaries and whatever reason. But American companies, the ones that are forcing affirmative action on these boards, they pay really well. And these women are getting cashed out. We know Marissa Mayer, who saw the downfall of Yahoo. Thanks, Gianna, for your message. She got $400 million. She got it cashed out at 55 on the way out the door. Suitcase full of cash for taking a company from being very successful to losing its search engine business, to basically squandering its windfall of $37 billion from the Alibaba investment. These things, I can't tell you. I'm doing these podcasts because I'm very serious. We got to get our shit together. America cannot afford to be paying unqualified people in executive positions. It's not just the money. It's the sin of omission. It's who you didn't have in there. You could have somebody who understands batteries and artificial intelligence and who has a network of suppliers and can make things easier and can raise money. And, there's so many things that an executive needs to do to make a company profitable, and to have somebody just sucking off the teat at the top. Elon, it's like if LeBron James just gets a bunch of losers at the beach volleyball or beach basketball team to join his team. He's got to do everything himself, right? And these guys can't shoot, they can't pass. LeBron's got to do it all. That's what's happening to right now to companies like Tesla. Is they're bringing in a bunch of losers after he built this great company, and they're just basically saying, "Oh, that great company with those great guys, no, those guys can't be here anymore. We now need to have a bunch of unqualified people. We're going to tell you who to hire." I mean, this is communism, but that's not the big problem. The big problem is not words like communism. The big problem is America's in a race. They're in a race to the finish. Everybody listening to this, our future economy depends on our companies doing well. We take it for granted that our companies do well. We take it for granted that we lead in technology, and we lead in automotive, and we lead in software. We lead in all these different new technologies like biotech. This is not guaranteed, you guys. To win this race, we need to fix the mistakes of the past, and we need to reevaluate. We need to move forward, and we got to run with like the wind, because the Chinese are very, very sharp. Chinese tech companies are dangerous. Alibaba Cloud, Tencent, Baidu, these companies are coming on strong. Baidu's coming on with self-driving. Alibaba Cloud, oh man, you're going to hear more and more about these guys. I said it in the last podcast. But I mean, let's get serious, guys. We don't need this shit. Men or women, no more unqualified idiots running companies. And I mean people that get on the boards who don't deserve it. Female entrepreneurs lying and screwing all their clients and everybody else and being forgiven again and again and again. It's time to hold people to the same standards, men and women. And let's start to build an economy that has a hope for the future. If we don't win the race for artificial intelligence, we lose it all. We lose it all. So I'm serious about that. This is no joke for me. And I thank you very much for listening. And thank you very much for your comments. I really appreciate you guys. And gals, 7% girls now. It's unbelievable. But hey, guys, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for everything you said. I really feel today like super, super stoked because I just feel like we're getting somewhere. I feel like this, these ideas are starting to gain traction with intelligent, rational men. And I love that. I love that. I don't like hyperbole. I don't like people screaming and being crazy. I like logic. I like winning. And let's win this one. Let's fucking win this one. All right, guys. Signing off. Ronin Man. Thanks for subscribing, sharing. Please share this stuff if you think it's good. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you on the next one.